Right.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to the OCPD check-in with the class of 2022. We're really happy to see you guys, and we just wanted to provide an opportunity for you all to ask questions about anything related to your career or professional development journey, and then also just provide you guys with some information about how the hiring timelines usually go, and then let you know what our upcoming programs will be to assist you in finding a job either for the summer or finding a position long-term. So Nikki, did you have any announcements or anything you wanted to?
Nope. Yep. We've got some things. Some things may be a refresher for many of you, but we kind of have been getting some of the same and similar questions from our students. So we just wanted to make ourselves available. So ask questions along the way. Again, some things may be a refresher, but we just wanted to make sure everyone knows where to find positions, and we can answer any questions you guys may have.
Let's, you all see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So really, okay, we're having a little technical difficulty here.
There we go.
Is it coming up? Okay. So first thing we wanted to do is kind of give you a refresher course on how to find some important information on simplicity, and also where to find the answers to commonly asked questions in the OCPD manual. So Nikki, if you want to take that, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Okay, so as a 2L, I hope that everyone knows how to find simplicity and log in. If you do not or have forgotten, we are happy to help you. Just email Kristen and I if you need help resetting your password if you've forgotten it. But I'm going to assume everyone knows how to get there at this point. And I've logged in as a student, and I'm going to just do a quick refresher on some of the job search resources that are available to you guys there. Let me just shift my view around. Okay. So most of you probably know how to access the job bank. I'm logged in as a student, and again, I like to search the job bank here, click on search on this left-hand column. Again, I think it's easier for me anyway if I click on all jobs to view them. It's just easier for me to see what's out there. I encourage you guys to check the job bank often throughout the holiday break, and whenever you're looking for something. I just posted a couple of positions today. I know Kristen forwarded some things to our student assistants to post. So employers are sending us things daily, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. So make sure you're checking. This is a remote position. It's unpaid, but it's remote. So there's not going to be really any cost for you to incur. So this just came up today. So there's several remote positions. There's another one here that are being posted. So make sure you're checking the job bank daily and maybe even a couple times throughout the day. So here are some positions listed here. If you want to search again by 2L only, you can click more filters, and you can select 2Ls by clicking there. If you want to narrow your search even more, you can select geographic preference. I just encourage you to do by class level and click apply. And it says there's 63 positions where employers have mentioned that they're open to hiring second-year law students. It's usually a pretty accurate search there, but there could be a couple things here and there that pop up that don't apply to 2Ls. But you can take a look there to see what's in the job bank, okay? Also, I'm gonna go back to make sure that you guys know how to find the manual and the Arizona Handbook in Martindale. So I'm back to my home screen. And if I scroll down over here on the right-hand side of the screen, I've got job search resources. Sometimes students forget that this exists over here. The first one that pops up is the Government Honors Program Internship Handbook. All the students have the same password. It's TMSL Careers. So if you click there, These are going to be government positions that are located in DC or throughout most of the capital cities throughout the country. Many of them are unpaid, but some are paid, and some are also remote. There are 2L internships here. There are also postgraduate opportunities as well. It's a very, very long list of positions by departments, and you can click here at the top and search by 2L application deadline. Click there. And that will narrow your search down to organizations who are open to selecting 2Ls for the summer. Again, a ton of organizations, FDIC, the Small Business Administration, IRS, the list goes on and on. Again, I think a lot of these organizations are going to be open to doing remote work. So, click around in here and see what they say. And again, at the top here, it'll say 2L for whom, pay, unpaid or paid, application deadline. A lot of them have rolling admission. So they'll kind of take applications until the position is filled. Some of them have set deadlines. So this is a really good resource if you're looking for a government or federal government work position. Kristen, did you have anything to add to Arizona? You're good? Okay. All right.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. No.
It's okay. Okay. Moving on to other job search resources, PSJD and EJW, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on. I just want to make sure you guys know where to find these. These will take you directly to the websites. These are going to have public service and nonprofit opportunities. They're free to search. You can click there. These diversity fellowships, a lot of them will be geared towards 1Ls, but they do have some 2L things in here too, so feel free to look through there. Oscar's going to have your federal clerkships for judges. These are mostly going to be for 3Ls and postgrads, but you can certainly look through here as well. Same thing for State Bar of Texas, HBA, they have a lot of opportunities posted too. Okay, I did want to show you the Martindale directory. So if we click Martindale, this is an online directory I really like. Kristen's description of it is kind of like a Yelp for lawyers. I was helping a student earlier who was looking for something in San Antonio, but you can type in your city of choice, and let's just do Houston. So you can type in your city and it will pull up for you an enormous amount of attorneys and law firms that are in the Houston area who have registered with Martindale, okay? So this is a good way if you want to conduct some direct outreach and send some cold emails to attorneys or law firms that you're interested in working with. So I think it's easier if we narrow down our search. So we've got up here in the left, I hope you can see, it's got 30,000 attorneys here that have been pulled up. You can narrow your search by practice area. If you don't see your area listed, you can try typing it in here to see if it comes up. You can further narrow your search even more by picking a cities outside the surrounding Houston area. You can also pick by firm size, I believe. We've got it on attorneys right now, but if you wanted to search by firm, you could click law firms and search by firm size here, okay? I'm gonna go back to click on attorneys because I wanted to show you that you can also search for fellow Thurgood alums. So you can click here for law school, and under this dropdown, you'll see Thurgood Marshall School of Law. So this will narrow the attorneys that pop up who attended Thurgood. It's 1,500. And this will tell you all the attorneys from Thurgood who've registered with Martindale. So if you want like an easy introduction and want to reach out to an alum, introduce yourself as a second year at Thurgood, looking for opportunities at their law firm or in family law or corporate law. It's an easy connection, seeing as how they also went to Thurgood. This is a really good way to find those attorneys too. We do work a lot with Christy Blurton. She does family law. Just going to use her as an example. So if we click there, it's got her picture, the name of her firm. You can find the website here, phone number. It'll tell you a little bit about Christy, and then you can learn more about the office. And then maybe you send her a cold email, for example, to introduce yourself and maybe ask for a time for a phone call or a Zoom meeting. Okay. Any questions about Martindale? I know that was a quick overview, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I just wanted to make sure you guys know where to find it and how to use it.
I just wanted to add something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really quickly. So just so you guys know, every attorney licensed in Texas or licensed nationwide does not participate in the Martindale directory. So don't feel discouraged if you're looking for someone in particular and you can't find their Martindale profile. Use other means, go on LinkedIn, go on the State Bar of Texas website or whatever state they're licensed in and try to find them that way.
Yep, good point. Okay, so I'm going to leave Martindale. And I think those are the main ones I wanted to show you guys on this job search resources tab, because I think oftentimes we forget that it's over there. Okay. Lastly, I want to make sure that you guys remember how to find the manual. So I'm back over here on the left-hand side of my Simplicity screen, and I'm going to go down to resources. I'm going to click on the resource library. And when this pops up in the middle of the screen here, I'm going to type the word manual. This over here. From here, you'll see two PDFs that pop up. The first one is just the resume and cover letter section from the manual. You guys should already have this from last year when we gave it to you, when you completed your LP cover letter and resume assignment. So that section is separate here for you. But I really want to make sure that you all know how to find the whole manual. So if you click on the second PDF here, it's a 2017-2018 OCPD manual. We are in the process of making some updates, but for purposes of what you guys can use it for now, you should have everything in there that you need. You can download it and save it to your device. That way you can easily access it, or you can always find it in Simplicity. It's available here for you 24/7. So this should hopefully look familiar to you. I'm going to just flip through this really quickly. So we've got a list of job search resources here. Martindale, again, we just went through that. LexisNexis, LinkedIn. You guys can explore those on your own. But don't forget about these resources when you're looking for positions. This should all look familiar when we taught you guys how to do your resume and cover letter. So all this is here for you too. I'm going to move past this. Okay. So, whoops, that's some cover letters. So just wanted to refresh your memory on writing samples. So as a 2L now, you guys are probably going to be asked to submit a writing sample for some of the positions that you're applying to. Don't forget to include a cover sheet with your writing sample. It's going to look just like your resume header, and then you can just attach a little brief statement about your writing sample and what's in it and what's following behind the cover page. Remember, employers typically want to see the analysis portion of your writing sample, and they usually only want a 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 page excerpt. So here we have an example of how to state in a little brief paragraph to the employer what you're attaching and that it's an excerpt of a writing sample. So take a look at that. Again, interview tips and tools. We'll be having a mock interview program in January so that you guys can continue to practice your interviewing skills, but there's some tips and tools for you there on dress and sample questions, how to respond to questions in the STAR method. And again, Kristen and I are always available to do mock interviews with you guys throughout the year. I'm going to go down to the networking section. So don't forget about your networking, and you can do that virtually as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but tips and tools on how to do networking. And then we have the sample emails for you if you're wondering what to say to someone that you don't know, one of the attorneys that you find on Martindale. You want to send an email to them, but you're not quite sure what to say or how to go about it. We give you 6 or 7 examples there that you guys can pull from to craft your own cold email to an attorney, either through Martindale or to a LinkedIn connection that you find that you want to reach out to and invite them for, again, a Zoom coffee or a Zoom lunch or just even a phone call. I think those were the main things I wanted to show you. Yep. So any questions about the manual, how to find the manual? Are you guys good? Or Kristen, did you have anything to add to that?
No, just check the manual. This should be your Bible going forward. Most of the time, the questions that you guys are asking are probably, the answers are probably already contained in the manual. And it's not that we don't want to hear from you, but just know this resource is available 24/7. But I think that's it. So if you want to stop sharing your screen, I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. See if this is going to work. Oh, and the other thing we wanted to mention, Nikki and I will still be available for appointments through December 18th. And then we'll be taking a break the following week for Christmas, and we'll be back scheduling appointments on the 28th, I believe, that Monday. So all of our availability should be currently posted on Simplicity throughout the end of the year, but you'll only be able to see 2 weeks at a time. So if you don't see any appointments available, just check the next day. You'll see another day's availability every day that goes by. And if you simply want us to review your resume or cover letter, feel free to send us an email. You don't have to schedule an appointment for that. We usually will get back to you guys within 24 to 48 hours with some comments or some feedback. And it will help us if you let us know what type of positions you're interested in applying for, or what kind of practice area you're targeting, what firm you're targeting when you send your documents. So feel free to do that anytime. We'll be happy to get that back to you. So we just wanted to go over kind of the hiring timelines and different tips that you should be aware of. And we want to do that by practice areas. So the first practice area we're going to talk about is large law firms, or what we typically call big law. Many of you know they're extremely grade focused. They're typically looking at the top 10% of your class rank. So if there are 200 of you in your class, they're looking at students ranked number 1 through number 20. It's not a guarantee that you'll be hired by big law if you are one of those students in the top 10%, but that's typically who they like to recruit from. Recruiting for second year summer positions, which would be this summer, would have began last August. Some of you participated in the OCI program. I know there are members of your second year class that have been hired in big law. And so we're looking forward to hearing how their summer goes. And if the summer experience goes well for a student who's a summer associate during their 2L summer, they can expect to receive an offer to join the firm as a first-year lawyer following their 3rd year after they graduate and sit for the bar exam. So not every employer typically visits every law school, so you may need to apply directly. Because we're situated here in Houston, we tend to get a lot of participation from the Houston area, large law firms from Jackson Walker and Norton Rose and Kirkland Ellis and Shook Hardy and places like that. But there are other large law firms who will be participating in our recruiting events remotely. And now, because everything is happening virtually, you can expect to hear from large law firms around the country, from Seattle, Boston, New York City, Washington, D.C., and they're all virtual. So if you are interested in working in a different metropolitan area, feel free to do your research and apply to them directly.
I did just want to.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Kristen. I'll let you finish your thought.
Okay, I was just saying most large law firms tend to hire their first-year attorneys out of the second-year summer associate class. That does not mean that you will never get the opportunity to work for a large law firm if you don't get recruited as a 2L, but typically that's the way that they do their initial hiring. And then also, once you are licensed and begin to practice, it's very common for attorneys to make a lateral transition into the law firm after 5 to 7 years or so of practice. But they like to maintain kind of that air of exclusivity. They want all their attorneys to have, been on law review or been in the top 10%, and that's why they charge the amount of money they charge to their clients. So go ahead, Nikki. Anything else?
The only other thing I wanted to add is that You guys only have one semester of letter grades, is that right?
Right.
Okay, so one of the reasons why we had um, a smaller number of large law firms recruiting this past fall is because many of them decided that they wanted the 2L class to have at least 2 semesters of letter grades, because spring semester you guys had pass fail. So to get a better idea of where you stand grade wise, they decided to hold off a lot of their recruiting until January. So you'll see, and we're going to talk about some of our upcoming recruiting events for winter. What we're having is calling winter OCI at 2L candidates in January, because you guys will by then have 2 semesters of letter grades. So just keep that in mind when you're applying as well.
Does anybody have any questions about big law or large law firms before we move on to the next practice group?
You were kind of breaking up when you were speaking about winter OCI, so could you kind of repeat that and when we should be on the lookout for that information?
Oh, yes. So I was just saying, your class has only 1 semester of letter grades, and large law firms are, like Kristen said, pretty grade focused. And so they wanted to delay their recruiting to January. So we're going to have a winter OCI where a lot of large law firms are going to still be recruiting 2Ls, because by then you guys will have 2 semesters of letter grades. Okay. Does that help?
And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail towards the end of the presentation about OCI. Okay, so the next group that we're going to talk about is our mid-sized and small law firms. These are law firms that are less than 500 attorneys, and small law firms less than 50 attorneys in most cases. Hiring timelines vary greatly, and that basically depends on the needs of the firm and the finances of the firm. So as firms take on larger cases or cases that require more hands on deck, they may decide to offer a position. And if their finances don't allow for them to hire someone paid, they just may not participate in the recruiting cycle for a year or a semester. So it really depends on what the needs of the firm are. They don't typically decide to make any hiring decisions until the end of the spring semester. So it's not uncommon for you to, if you're looking, for instance, at a job at a mid-size or small criminal defense firm or a family law firm, it's not uncommon for you to not see those firms advertising for positions on Simplicity right now. It's still quite early in the hiring timeline for those firms, but as we get on into the spring semester around March or April, they will know what their needs are for the next upcoming 2 or 3 months going into the summer. And if they have the need for an intern or a law clerk, that's when you'll typically see those positions becoming available. Also, small and mid-sized firms don't always advertise their job openings. It is way more important to have I guess a connection or some kind of a network built in so that people can know what you're interested in and then let you know when opportunities become available. So if you know that you want to work in family law or bankruptcy or criminal defense or real estate or something like that, IP even, more of a smaller mid-sized firm practice area, it's really important that you get to know the attorneys who are practicing in that realm, especially within whatever metropolitan area you want to work. So if you want to stay in Houston, I would greatly advise all of you to go to the Houston Bar Association website. When you get there, go to the sections, and sections are simply just groups of attorneys who practice within a certain practice area. So you'll see the list of sections. It'll say criminal law, real estate, family law, personal injury, so on and so forth, corporate law, business law. And you simply go to that section that you're interested in, and you can find out the membership of that group. You can find out who the president is of that section. You can find out when they have meetings. And I'm fairly certain that because we've been in this pandemic for 6+ months, they're now doing their meetings virtually. If you'd like to participate in some of the meetings, you can simply email the membership director and ask that you be allowed to participate in the meeting, and tell them that you're a student at Thurgood Marshall School of Law and you're looking to find out more about what the local attorneys who practice in the tax section are discussing and what their needs are. So that's the way that you can get plugged into the local network within whatever practice group that you want to eventually study. And you can do that for any city. Almost every city has at least one bar association, and then they'll have other bar associations that are limited by, by gender or ethnicity or race or whatever it is. So just start thinking about that, how to get into the network of the practice area that you think you might want to join. Also, mid-sized and small firms often provide opportunities to work throughout the semester. So they may have a need for an intern for an entire semester, but also they do things that are project limited. So they may have a big case coming up and they may need some students to help work on discovery or to help work on, preparing for this witness or investigating a certain aspect of the case. So when you see opportunities like that, take advantage of it. It may not be a whole semester. It may only be 2 weeks, but that'll still give you some experience on your resume, and it may be a paid opportunity. And as always, it's a way for you to establish some credibility and work history with an employer who may be able to connect you with a full-time job after you graduate. And with that being said, entry-level attorney hires who work at small to mid-sized firms typically have worked with those firms in the past. They don't typically hire people off the street. They want to know what your work ethic is like. They want to know if they can get along with you, if the rapport is good, because it's a smaller environment. There's not a lot of staff like there would be at a large law firm where you have people who do certain things. Typically at small to mid-sized law firms, people are more generalists. So they want to make sure that you guys can get along, that you can go to lunch together, and that it's going to be a collegial environment. So they want people that they've worked with in the past. And then again, it's not uncommon if you haven't worked with them in the past that they may not make an offer for full-time employment until after you've graduated and passed the bar exam, because they simply don't have the budgets to bring on people and make them offers a year in advance. So Nikki, did you want to add anything, or does anybody else have any questions about these practice areas?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So let's move on. Oh, oops, went too far. Okay, so the next category is government jobs. Government covers positions at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. Okay, so federal would be, United States Department of Justice, the IRS, the Health and Human Services, the State Department, so on and so forth. State positions would be, for instance, within the state of Texas. Local level could be the city of Houston, Harris County, any of the school districts, the Port Authority, the airport, any of those type things. Even higher education institutions, those are usually state funded unless they're private. Most of the time, the interns for these positions are unpaid, but there are exceptions. Nikki showed you guys earlier the Arizona handbook, that had positions that are both paid and unpaid. If you're interested in maybe working for the federal government after you graduate, a great way to get started is to try to secure an internship while you're in law school. The other thing is that certain federal agencies have what they call honors programs or fellowship programs that are offered to law students. They are fairly competitive, but that's a great way to get an offer to start at those agencies as a first-year attorney. So if you think you might want the stability and the cachet and the reliable schedule of being a government attorney, and there's a lot of benefits to that, consider looking into an honors program or a fellowship program. For federal jobs, the hiring may start as early as August, but it rolls through to the fall and sometimes even to the spring semester. For state and local government positions, again, they usually start late fall, so around this time, November, December, and can extend into March and April. We usually have a lot of government agencies participating in our Public Service Career Expo, which will be taking place in February this year virtually. But if you're looking for a government job, feel free to do some research on your own. But typically, they are active participants in our recruiting event. So you'll hear more information about that as the time comes. Lastly, again, they are one of the employers that tends to wait until after graduates have received their bar results before making offers of employment. But there are exceptions to that, like the honors program or the fellowship program. Anybody have any questions about government positions? These are positions like the public defender's office, also the state attorney's office or the attorney's office, which are also really popular positions with a lot of our students. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. Public interest jobs. Almost all law student public interest jobs, again, are unpaid, but there is sometimes funding available for outside sources. I know that one of the employers that we see often, Kids in Need of Defense, the ACLU, they almost always offer paid positions for their summer interns. So there are exceptions to these rules. If you find a job in the public interest sector that is unpaid, there are always alternatives to help you secure financing. That may be through a funding organization like Equal Justice Works. That may be through a scholarship. And there's usually always scholarships offered by the local bar associations, depending on the practice area. Sometimes alums will offer scholarships just out of their interest in giving back to the school. So if you do get an unpaid internship and you need financing, don't get discouraged. Reach out to us and we'll see if we can help you guys with securing some financing or funding. Public interest hiring typically begins in October and again can extend into March or April. And they are also very active participants in our career fair and our public interest recruiting. Sometimes they don't hire entry-level attorneys, but those that do begin in the fall and are most likely to hire during the last semester of law school after you've graduated and passed the bar. So you guys are kind of seeing a trend here with firms not necessarily hiring students until, or I should say graduates, until after bar exam results come out. That's typically how it goes for your first year attorney positions, but internships, most of them will hire throughout the school year. I should ask if there's any questions about that. You ready? Okay, and then our last practice area is judicial internships or clerkships. So a judicial intern is a position that's held while you're still in law school, your first year, second year, and then a judicial clerk is a postgraduate position, and it's full-time and it's paid. Those positions are very, very competitive, very prestigious. You can expect after you complete your clerkship, which may be 1 or 2 years, that you'll be a very competitive candidate for an entry-level attorney position, basically wherever you'd like to work, especially if you're a federal judicial clerk. During the spring semester of your second year of law school, so we're talking about this semester coming up for you guys, if you're interested in becoming a federal judicial clerk, you should start seeking recommenders. Many of you might have participated in the program we have with District Court Judge Brian Wimes last year. He's an alum. He lives and works in Kansas City, Missouri. He started out his career, I think, as a prosecutor and then a state court judge, and then now he's a federal judge. Judge Wimes has hired, I believe, at least two or three of our students as federal clerks, and many of them have been, very happy about their relationship with Judge Wimes. So it is something that's, that's achievable, and we have people that we can connect you with if that's something that you'd like to pursue. Federal clerkship application materials are typically prepared over the summer prior to your last year of law school, and then they're sent to the judges the Tuesday after Labor Day. So if you guys want to start that process, you would start, I guess, this spring lining up your recommenders and finding out maybe which judges you might be interested in working for. And then over the summer, you would start your application and send it off at the beginning of your 3L year in the fall. Judges will interview candidates according to their schedule, but usually in the fall, and the decisions are made by late October. Now, the state clerkship process is a little bit different. It varies by timeline and it varies by the level of court within the state. So if you're clerking for a trial court judge, an appellate court judge, or maybe a Supreme Court level judge, it depends on their hiring timelines, depend on their individual needs. And then is there a question in the chat? For anybody who's interested in being a judicial intern, we also want to encourage you to apply for the American Bar Association's Judicial Intern Opportunity Program, which we call JIOP. That program is open to 1Ls and 2Ls. Basically, it's a program where the ABA has identified certain judges around the country who are willing to take on interns for the summer. So you apply to join the program, And then if you're admitted to the program, they will match you with a judge who's participating in that program. And there is a stipend offered as a part of the GIOP program. I don't know the exact amount of the stipend, but it'll probably be, I would say, in the realm of $5,000 or so for the summer. So that
it's 2,000 to 3,000.
Okay, so it's 2,000 to 3,000. So that'll help you, and it may be remote. I think some students who participated in GIOP this past summer may have worked remotely. So that would even, even more money that would be coming directly to you because you wouldn't have to pay for living expenses or moving expenses. The GIOP program has a deadline, I believe, of January 18th. And we're going to be having an info session with some alums who participated in the GIOP program when they were students, and then also some current Thurgood students who participated in recent summer. So if you're interested in learning more about the GIOP program or about what it's like to be a judicial intern, please come to the info session in December, and we'll tell you all you need to know about that program. So was there something in the chat I saw?
I think I got it. There was just a question about what a recommender was, and so I'm just answering that.
Perfect. Okay. So what you should be doing now, refreshing your LinkedIn profile. And by that, we mean identifying what your interests are. So if you think you want to practice international law or business law, make sure that you're posting about that on your LinkedIn profile and following people who work in that industry. Make sure that you're following whatever, trade magazines, or maybe it's the Wall Street Journal. And if you see an article that has to do with something that interests to you in that practice area, make sure you're posting about it. You want to be building your brand and your network, reaching out to people so that they know that this is something you're passionate about and you're interested in. And when the time comes, you'll have some institutional knowledge about that practice area that you can share with somebody when you're doing an informational interview. So, as we always tell you guys, comb through your other social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Snapchat, so on and so forth, your TikToks, whatever, especially because we are all working remotely. Everybody can do a quick search to find out exactly what's going on. So make sure that everything's above board. The second thing is make sure you revise and edit your resume. And as we mentioned earlier, you can simply just email your documents to Nikki and I if you just want us to give you, some quick tips. If you'd like to have an appointment to discuss something in detail, feel free to schedule an appointment on Simplicity, and we're happy to meet with you guys. And then participate in the virtual networking opportunities. It's become very common now for law students or even grads seeking employment to contact attorneys and ask for an informational interview, or to ask for a virtual coffee chat, or even a happy hour, right? So everybody's working through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you'd like to use, but just send an email or send a message on LinkedIn, tell them who you are, how you found them, what you'd like to gain from the opportunity, and then ask them if they have, 10 to 15 minutes to meet with you to discuss whatever it is that you want to talk about. That's kind of what's happening now. Obviously, prior to COVID, we were having meet and greets and little gatherings and holiday parties and, so on and so forth. But since we're not doing that now, everything is moved online. So if you guys are not doing this, you're going to get left behind. We want to make sure that you're participating and trying to expand your network as best you can, even during the pandemic.
One thing I wanted to add in about LinkedIn, as Kristen said, everyone is remote, right? Most employers are working remotely, or at least working remotely the majority of the time. Your LinkedIn profiles need to be updated just like your resume. So at this point in your law school career, you should have a professional photo done. Not that you have to go buy one or have one done by a professional photographer. You can take one, take a selfie, be dressed from the top up in something professional. And your experience needs to be updated just like you update your experience on your resume. So those things should mimic each other. I think that's the main thing I wanted to point out about LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Anybody have any questions about any of that, about networking or your personal branding online? Okay. So these are the upcoming events that we have for the remainder of the academic year. Our winter 2021 OCI program, we're recruiting employers right now. You guys will be able to see the list of participating employers on Simplicity starting December 16th. So once we finalize a list of all the employers who are participating, you'll be able to view it, and then you'll see the timelines and the deadlines for the bidding process after that. We have some employers who are conducting interviews and some employers who are doing what we call resume collects. So the employers who are doing resume collects have not committed to interview any number of students, but they still want to see your resumes and review everything. And if they find someone that they are interested in interviewing with, they will schedule the interview separately outside of the OCI program. And a lot of the reason for employers doing resume collects is just because there's too many schools and they can't commit to a whole day of interviewing students from one school because they have 35 or 40 schools that they want to commit to. So don't be afraid to apply somewhere, even if they're not committed to an interview. Still submit your resume and we'll help you kind of walk through that process if you have questions. There are, I believe, at least 2 employers who are currently listed on Simplicity conducting resume collects right now. I think Reed Smith is one, and I feel like there's maybe one other firm who's doing a resume collect through the month of December. So always check and see. You can go on Simplicity and click on the on-campus interview tab and then see which employers are currently doing a resume collect, and you would apply to them just like you would apply to any other employer on Simplicity. Just simply view their requirements. If they ask you to upload your resume and cover letter, you do that and then submit apply. If they ask you to apply directly to a certain website, you'd follow those same directions, okay? The other thing is the GIOP program. The deadline is actually January 10th. I think I said the 18th earlier, but it's January 10th. And then we're having an info session. Let me give you the date for that. The info session for GIOP is going to be on the 14th. Yeah, December 14th at noon. So you'll see some more information from our office about, how we typically contact you via email, Blackboard, Facebook, about joining the GIOP program. But just keep in mind the deadline is January 10th. And then we'll be having our virtual public service career fair on February 10th. Again, those will be all sorts of public interest employers, government employers, judicial employers, so on and so forth, who are looking for summer interns. So feel free to register for that when you see those opportunities come up. And then there's typically 2 scholarships that we recommend students apply for, which is the Association of Corporate Counsel, or the ACC scholarship, and the Association of Women Attorneys, which is the AWA scholarship. Those deadlines have not been announced yet, or the applications have not been made available yet, but we expect that they will be made available this year, and we'll let you know about those dates when those opportunities come up. Nikki, did you want to add
Actually, I think ACC is actually already posted.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah, ACC is posted now. I think it's a January or February deadline. So you can just search in the job bank ACC or ACC scholarship. That should come up. That's open now. And then, like Kristen said, we have not received AWA yet. But that should be coming in later this month or early or in January. We do have the HP program because I think HP is going to be offering. So I'll put that in the chat here on next
Wednesday.
Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's the 8th. Tuesday. Next Tuesday at 12. So Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which is HPE, will be hosting a discussion with their general counsel, and he'll be talking about his journey to general counsel and what he recommends for law students who are interested in working in in-house counsel or for a corporate employer. It should be a very engaging conversation. If you guys are not aware, HPE just moved their entire operation to Houston. They're building a brand new campus and doing a lot of hiring and recruiting, not just in the legal field, but just in general. So it's an organization that is committed to employing students in Houston or employing people in Houston, and their office has been very enthusiastic about making connections with TMSL. So we'd like to have a lot of participation on that call if possible. I think they're going to be participating in the mock interview program in the spring, and they did participate in our fall OCI as well. So they're interested in meeting with TMSL students. So it's a great opportunity to kind of get your face in front of some people you might want to work for someday. I think that's the end of our presentation.
I just want to plug really quickly, and it's not a plug so much because I know you guys are tired of hearing me probably post about the path and the practice, but if you haven't listened to the podcast yet, I really highly encourage it. my colleague, Alexis Robertson, actually, we've only talked over LinkedIn for the last 2 years. We haven't had the chance to meet in person, but we talk all the time. But she's at a large law firm, and she's doing a podcast where she's interviewing lots of the associates and partner attorneys at Foley and Lardner. She's an attorney herself, but no longer practices. She does diversity and inclusion work. But she has been interviewing these attorneys, and they've been sharing their stories, their path to law school, and then ultimately to the practice. And I really think it's beneficial for law students to hear it. There's so many great tips. Everyone has such a different story. I think a lot of us kind of have this idea in our minds of what a big law attorney is, and maybe their pedigree or the background that they came from that positioned them better or more favorably to getting that type of role. But these stories are so varied. There's a person who was going to go to the NFL who ended up going to law school. There's a couple of single moms on there who, it took them 8 years to get through undergrad and law school before finally making it to, where they are now. So I think you'll find there's a lot of first generation attorneys on there who are first generation college, whose parents immigrated here from other countries. So I think a lot of their stories will resonate with many of you, and I find them inspiring. A lot of law students across the country have started listening to the podcast. So during your break and when you have a little bit of downtime, or you can kind of have it playing while you're I'll type the name of it again here. It looks like a couple of you have already started listening to it. So I'm hoping that you enjoy it and check it out.
Perfect. So does anybody have any questions or any stories they want to share about their job search, or questions about the semester? There's what?
Quick question about the ACC scholarship. If you received it last year, are you still allowed to apply for it again, or it's only for newcomers?
I think so. I feel like I had this question before. Let me email the contact, but I want to say she said only one time. I'll double check for you though.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody? We have at least another 10, 12 minutes. We scheduled this for an hour, but we gave ourselves 2 hours just in case, but don't feel shy. We miss seeing you guys dropping in the office. So for many of you, we haven't seen you since February. So, we're happy to hear what's going on. How did your semester go? Any highlights? Anything you you learned or you want to talk about?
One more thing too on the path and the practice. Any of all the attorneys who are featured on there are open to having students reach out to them via email. So as we're talking about virtual networking and the use of LinkedIn, if there's someone that you hear that their story resonated with you, even if you don't want to work at Foley and Lardner or a big law or anything, it may be just a good way to connect with people and start building your professional network that way too.
Has anybody already secured a job for the summer?
You guys, we are here for you for another hour, and then y'all are gonna all email us, blow us up for.
Oh, good, Erin. Okay, wonderful. Congrats, Erin. How did you get the position? Did you participate in a mock interview?
I participated in OCI. I did mock interviews with Nikki. And then I also, Nikki scheduled like a meet and greet with attorneys from HP. I got a job with HPE.
Yes,
so
wonderful. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Nobody has any questions? Are you guys sure?
Another thing too, when you're doing your search, like Kristen mentioned earlier, so many employers I think they saw, oh, we can offer internships virtually in light of the pandemic last summer. So I know, not that I think, I know that so many employers are going to be offering remote opportunities. So you have to go there after law school, but if they're offering an opportunity in another city, it may be worth opening up your search. So like in LinkedIn, you can search legal internship or law clerk and then just leave the city and state portion blank. Same thing for Indeed, and that'll pull up a lot more results for you that way.
Mm-hmm. And you guys keep in mind too that you have the option of taking the UBE. So you're not limited to just practicing in Texas because you're graduating from a Texas law school. You know, think about where you might be willing to move, even if it's just temporary, you know, and start looking for positions in those locales too. I know on the call earlier this week with the 1Ls, Nikki mentioned a concept called reciprocity, which you guys may or may not have heard of. Reciprocity basically just means you're sharing information with another party. And in this instance, our office can assist you with connecting with another career office at a different law school if you're interested in maybe working in a different metro area. So for instance, if you have family in Atlanta and you feel like, or you just feel like you want to move to Atlanta and practice law there after you graduate, we can connect you with some of the law schools in Atlanta, like Emory or UGA or whatever school is that you're interested in going to, and see if that law school will offer you reciprocity to view their simplicity. Each simplicity is basically defined by the location, you know, where the school is hired. That's why most of the jobs in our Simplicity Bank or for Houston or for Texas, it's the same thing in Atlanta. Most of those jobs are going to be based around the Atlanta market. So in order to get you a little bit closer to positions that are available in the metro area where you'd like to work, we can see if that law school will offer reciprocity to our TMSL students. So if that's something you're interested in, just let us know what school you'd like to access. And then there's usually either a form on their website or an email address where they say, please have someone from your career office contact John Doe at emory.gov. And so if you can give Nikki and I that information, we will make the initial contact and then hopefully give you access to that school's Simplicity account. Let me see.
I will say that in light of COVID, there was one school today I reached out to that said because of COVID, they were not granting reciprocity. It really just depends on the school, but I literally just found that out about this particular school before our meeting this afternoon, but we will still try. And oftentimes there's more than one law school in some of the larger cities, and so maybe at least one of them will grant reciprocity.
Mm-hmm. And we can also reach out to the alums who are in that area. Dean Prudence Smith is over, you know, alumni affairs and external affairs. So if you want to connect with an alum who's practicing in a different metro area, we have ways to kind of get you guys connected. We just have to know that there's a need. Let me see.
I put a couple of search terms in the chat box. Law clerk, legal assistant. Oh, I think Kristen, you said paralegal too, right?
Yeah.
Paralegal, intern. Also, you may be able to search JD. Don't forget about your JD Advantage type position. So if you're interested in compliance work or positions within human resources, Title IX work, where those are a lot of positions where you don't necessarily have to have a bar passage or law degree, but sometimes they like to have someone with a JD or someone who's a law student because you're coming with a different perspective and often have very strong legal research and writing skills and analytical skills. And in those positions, that's something that they're looking for. So that may be helpful too when you're searching.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I applied for a summer position. It's at a mid-sized firm in California, and I think I applied last month, and I know that they're accepting applications, I think, through February. But I reached out multiple times to just see if they got my application materials, and I haven't heard anything back. But I remember you saying that mid-sized don't really look until the end of spring. So is that normal for me to not hear anything until like during the spring semester for the summer?
I think it may be normal to hear whether or not you've been asked for an interview or chosen to conduct an interview. But typically, if you ask, you know, if they've received your application materials, I would hope that they would have responded. I don't know if you have a contact person, like a named person that you can reach out to, or if it's just a general HR address. But if you don't have the name of someone you can reach out to, I might recommend that you try to find that through their website, like find their HR manager, their recruiting manager, find their name and send them a direct email and just say, hi, you know, and reintroduce yourself. Hi, my name's Amber. I applied for this position and I just wanted to confirm receipt of my application materials. And maybe you could ask them for a general timeline of when they would expect to make decisions about who they'd like to interview.
Okay, yeah, because I have one person that I reached out to a couple of times, and I also know that they're going through an office move. They're changing locations, so I was trying to give them a little grace as far as time.
Yes.
But I didn't know if it was, you know, appropriate for me to reach out again to make sure that everything was received.
You may want to wait just till after the holidays. That you know, this is kind of a busy time with people taking time off, and then especially like you said, if they're going through an office transition, maybe follow up with them in early January and try to follow up with someone directly, just to confirm that they have your application, because you would hate for them to not even have receipt of it, and then you'll never get the call for an interview if they don't have your materials. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
I did have a question that was sent directly to me, but I did want to go ahead and bring it up because other people may have it too. But I had a couple of questions about externships. So Kristen and I don't oversee the experiential learning department or externships directly. That's run by Associate Dean Stephanie Ledesma. So any questions you have specifically about the externship program or how to get an employer qualified as a extern placement, those need to be directed to Dean Ledesma, excuse me. But a lot of students will find an internship through our office or on their own, and they qualify for an externship, or they've earned enough credits to have it qualify for an externship. And you can just simply ask the employer if they're open to having you do that as an externship instead of an internship. And really the only difference is that you're going to be earning course credit for that program. There's a classroom component to it. And Dean Ledesma has to certify that employer as an extern and make sure that you're enrolled in the experiential learning program. It doesn't mean that you can't also get paid. Thurgood allows you to either receive paid compensation or course credit, either or both. So it really just depends on how the employer wants to structure it and what you all agree to. I have seen a couple of postings already in Simplicity and a couple on Indeed who are advertising for externships, or it'll be posted as an internship or a law clerk position, and the employer will say it's unpaid, but we will give course credit, or it's paid and or we will give course credit. So if you see something that mentions course credit, that should be your signal that they're open to having it structured as an externship.
Okay. I hate to just keep you guys here on the phone silent, but we're happy to sit and chat with anybody who has specific questions.
If you guys, want to talk, or if you are looking for something in a particular practice area, we can talk about that. And Kristen and I are happy to help try to connect you to people in our network. Nobody?
I mean, I can only speak for myself, but this Arizona handbook literally just opened up the world. So I'm literally just scrolling because I had already kind of focused on my fastest path into international law was going to be business, but the fastest way to get into that and also have security, because we don't know what the economy is going to do, is to work inside of agencies that are connected to business. And so you just gave me all of that. So now I'm just literally flying through it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You can spend all day on that thing, right?
Yeah. One thing I remember hearing in law school a lot from my professors was, you don't know what you don't know, and you have to get comfortable with that. So if there's something that you want help with, don't feel like you're asking a silly question. We may not know the answers, but we may be able to get you a little bit closer. So feel free, you know, if you have questions, you have a little voice inside that says, I want to be a, you know, a civil rights lawyer working at The Hague. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do to kind of get you there. But just because you don't have the answers right in front of you, don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for help. So that's what we're here, you know, to assist you guys with. All right, I guess we can make, bankruptcy.
Oh, Jasmine.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
Nikki is a former bankruptcy attorney, so she can talk to you about that.
Jasmine, we can talk more about bankruptcy. We also have several alums that practice bankruptcy. Brendan Singh was with us over the summer. He did a panel discussion on bankruptcy law, and he opened up his own firm with 2 other Thurgood alums, and they all 3 practice bankruptcy. So I'm happy to connect you. Send me an email or make an appointment with me on Simplicity, and we can talk more. Also, Tiara Seals, one of our recent grads, she just joined the bankruptcy section at Jackson Walker. And there's a couple of judges that we can connect you with. I think Renicea's judge, Renicia Coda, the judge that she is a clerk for right now, is a bankruptcy judge. So I have connections there.
Yep.
See Cindy, immigration, tons of connections with immigration lawyers.
So I actually had a question.
Yes, go ahead, Cindy.
So I wanted to know, I am interning with Kine right now, and since school let out, I feel like I've gotten a lot more involved with my internship, and I've learned a lot more about immigration. And they offered the opportunity to continue like my internship in the spring, but of course, Kine only deals with kids. I just want to do different things other than like the asylum stuff. But I guess my question was, I also have a sorority sister she has her own private practice and has like a family law. And she told me that if I needed something for the summer, I could definitely work with her. She didn't mention anything about pay yet. I just met her and she's an alum, so she's really, really helpful. But I think my biggest concern is I definitely want to find something that's paying for the summer. And I feel like now that I have a little bit more experience on immigration, I could possibly get paid in a small immigration firm. So I don't know if I should, tell her no, because she only does family law and criminal, which I'm still interested in that. And I haven't had any experience on that, or if I should just focus on like small immigration firms.
I think so your main thing is that you want to stick with immigration, you want to get more experience, but you definitely want a paid position.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And you already have an offer somewhere else?
It's definitely sounded like, I'm not sure. I'm scheduled to meet with her later this month. But as soon as I connected with her, she was all like, she asked me if I had anything for the summer yet. And I said no. And she was like, great. You can always come here for the summer.
Okay. So I think you can still keep your search options open. It doesn't sound like you guys have a commitment yet. I think it's a good connection to have and definitely worth continuing conversation. But you can always split your summer, right? Or work for more than one employer. So continue to search. I think the Martindale directory that we went through earlier, were you on the call then when we did that?
Yes, I was. I saw that.
Use that and search immigration law. Search immigration law attorneys who also went to Thurgood by using the filter, and do some direct outreach that way and see what else you can find. And then you can always search immigration internships on Indeed and LinkedIn. So I think you're still early enough in the year where you can still continue to search and find other things and while still maintaining the relationship with the contact that you've already made. Does that kind of help?
Yes, it does.
Okay. This is all good stuff. Anybody? Ty, I'm trying to find the episode of the Path and the Practice for you that talks about international law.
That'd be great. About 2 weeks ago, I think it is now, we had, because I'm also the ABA rep, and we had the opportunity to partner with Howard, and we met with the ABA IRS division, and one of the gentlemen that I got to just nerd out with did international dispute resolution. And so we kind of talked about his path and his journey, and that's how I figured out, oh, there are a lot of agencies that I wasn't even considering. And he was like, yeah, you got to think outside the box. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, but yeah, any other resources you can send my way, I would absolutely appreciate.
Our eyes open for sure. What about the other people on the call? Addie, Lydia, Martin, Crystal, what are you guys interested in? Is there anything we can help you with?
I'm thinking, I'm leaning towards malpractice.
Okay, so that's personal injury, negligence work?
Yes.
Okay, have you identified any firms or any attorneys that you can connect with? Because
My
those
internship was with the malpractice, but I wanna do a variety of different things, because the former employer I had, he did a variety of different things, and I like that. So it's mostly about trying to connect it. So I guess I would have to make a meeting with you ladies and to see how I can connect it.
Yes, we're happy to help you with that. And then also just think about what I mentioned before, like going to the local bar association section pages and finding attorneys who work in the personal injury section. And then once you get their names, you can go on their LinkedIn profile or go on the firm website, find out more about what they do. And if you're interested in leaving that practice area, like you said, you may want to get some more experience. If you're thinking about, well, I guess I should say, in my experience, you tend to see small firms that do family law, personal injury, and criminal defense. Those three usually practice together. So, you know, it's not uncommon to find a small firm that does all three. So if you've already kind of checked the personal injury box and you're looking for more experience, but you could still get that at a small firm, think about doing some work in criminal defense or also in family law. And you can still go to the section website for the HBA to find attorneys who work in that area. Also in the TMSL alumni Facebook page, you'll see a lot of alums who are solo practitioners who work in those spaces in criminal defense and family and personal injury. And so that's also a good place to just, you know, send people a message or respond to their Facebook post saying, hey, if you need any help with this DUI case that's coming up, or if you need any help with this dissolution of marriage case, I'm available and willing to help out, you know, just for some experience.
I was going to share the HBA page too.
Say that again, Nikki.
I was going to share this screen.
Sure.
For those of you guys who haven't been here yet, I know we've talked about it and mentioned it a couple times today, but I'm sharing my screen here. It's the Houston Bar Association's website, hba.org. So this is a really helpful resource, really no matter where you're located, but specifically if you're thinking about staying in the Houston area. If you go to the attorneys tab, and then just scroll down to sections, which is what Kristen was talking about earlier, I'm going to click there. And you'll see all the sections here in the middle that are subsections of the Houston Bar Association. Well, I don't know, let's see, let's just pick one that I know is pretty active. Let's pick labor and employment, I think. So if we click labor and employment, it tells you about the section. And then like Kristen was saying, it has their officers and all their chairs here. So if you wanted to just do some research on the chairs, you can Google this person's name or even have a link to the person's email address. Their firm is listed here a lot of times. So you can Google them or find them on LinkedIn or reach out to them via email from their law firm's website if you're able to find them. Again, do a cold email using the manual, introduce yourself, and try to set up a time to chat. But this is a great way to get tapped into the different practice areas in the Houston market. And then a lot of them will have scholarships, like Kristen shared earlier, down here, they'll be listed if they do have a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you'll see there too, where it says meetings are $10 per person per meeting. Reservation is required. You can contact the membership chair and ask them if you can join meeting as a student. And most of the time they'll waive the admission fee for you. So there's an email address. I think, Nikki, if you scroll up, there'll be an email address for either the membership chair or the president or somebody, and you can just email that person and ask if you can attend the meeting.
Yep.
And when you become a third year, when you become a third year, HBA offers free membership to third year law students. So.
And like Kristen said, when you're, think of other areas that overlap, right? So if you're interested in, what did Addie say she wanted to do?
She said malpractice, but also interested in
medical malpractice.
So when you're thinking about, that's a great example of medical malpractice. So think about everything that kind of can fall under that. It can involve environmental law, depending on what the medical issue was or what agencies, organizations were involved with the issue. It could involve health law. It could involve a labor and employment law issue.
It could be probate, right? If somebody dies.
Probate, yeah, exactly. Could be a probate issue. So when we're looking for different opportunities and looking to round out our skills and get exposure to different things, think about the areas that can cross over with it. And that's another thing that Kristen and I can help you identify. Okay, so like health law especially is huge in Houston. And health law touches so many things. Environmental law touches a lot of things. So don't forget about these sections too. Pretty helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a meeting. I'm still gonna have a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
IP law, but I do not have a STEM background. I have a business background, but I just moved from Silicon Valley, so everything around me was tech. Everybody speaks tech. All your neighbors talk tech, so that's why I wanted to do that. And in my because I just transferred to TMSL. In my previous law school, I took some IP classes, units, but they were not transferred over. And so I'm wondering, what are my chances as a non-STEM person into IP?
I'm sorry, as a non-what?
And someone who did not take STEM. STEM. College, yeah.
You don't have a hard science background, no background in biology, chemistry, business.
No.
Right.
No.
Okay.
You can go into trademark and copyright. So the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office hosts an internship program, I think every year. I'm going to type it in. Are you able to see our screen, or are you calling in, or
I can see the screen.
Okay, so USPTO. You can also find out the Copyright Office and the Arizona Handbook that we were talking about earlier. They have internships through the Copyright Office. Again, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO, does an internship program. So I would probably focus on copyrights and trademarks. Those two areas, they're called soft IP. They don't require a hard science background.
Okay.
And through that, you can sometimes cross into patent work and things like that that may require a hard science background, but with some years of experience under your belt, you can maybe take on some of that work. But I would, as far as internships go, look at look at trademark work, copyright work. Also look at some of the technology companies like HP, HPE, Google is heavy in Austin. Of course, a lot of the San Francisco companies offer remote opportunities. So you may want to look at like a Facebook or Google or Amazon who offer virtual opportunities, and at least get your foot in the door with a tech company where you can just start to learn about different soft IP opportunities within those companies.
Okay.
Does that
and
help?
then Yes, it does. My second question then is, I'm trying to apply to these places, some of the places, but I do not have any TMSL credits right now. And trying to apply to Texas, no, like to Houston companies, but I have no TMSL credits or anything to show that I'm going to school here. So does my old, where I went to school formally, do those grades make any difference? Do they matter really? Or I have to have grades from here before I can do anything like that?
I don't think you necessarily have to have grades from Thurgood to apply for an internship. It may be worth scheduling an appointment with me or Kristen so that we can talk more about your specific situation. Did you transfer here over the summer or?
Yeah, so this is my first semester at TMSL.
Okay. So you'll have grades at the end of this semester. You'll have grades in January, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you'll put Thurgood on your resume as your current law school. And again, we can talk more offline if you want to schedule a one-on-one with one of us to make sure your documents are in order and all of that. But no, I don't think that's going to prevent you from applying to any internship at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I saw that Lydia mentioned in the chat that she's interested in corporate and commercial law. So great, great opportunity. That is going to require, I think, some legwork on your behalf to target the companies that you might be interested in working for. So those companies don't generally advertise internship opportunities. Doesn't mean that they don't take on interns, but they just don't advertise for them. One of your classmates, you may be aware, Alexis Whitaker did an internship at Viacom this past summer, and she got it on her own. It wasn't a position that they advertised. She just emailed somebody, wrote them a letter, and told them she wanted to work there, and she went through an interview process and she got the job. But it takes kind of some legwork on your own to identify the companies that you may want to work for, and then tapping into your network, making sure that your materials are up to date and accurate and persuasive. We do have alums. Amazon is off the top of my head, so I know we have Kimberly Dandridge at Amazon, and probably some alums who work in other corporations. But try to identify like what type of corporation you'd like to work for. Is it a tech corporation? Is it an entertainment corporation? Is it a media corporation? Is it a sports agency? You know, try to identify what type of in-house work you'd like to do. And then, you know, go on their website, go into their careers page and see if they have an advertising posted for a legal intern or for a compliance intern or whatever it is. But yeah, you'll have to kind of look into those as they come along, because those positions are not advertised very commonly, but they do take on interns. So Nikki just posted in the chat some of the organizations that we have worked with in the past, or where they've hired our students or alums. Viacom, USAA, which is a major insurance company, John Deere, Amazon, Liberty Mutual, AT&T, HP. So if any of those companies interest you, we can get you connected at least to a student or an alum who's had experience working there. But there are, you know, thousands of companies. So, you know, just identify try to narrow down your search a little bit, and then start to do some research as to what opportunities are available. And even if they don't have any opportunities posted, you just need an email address to contact someone and write them a letter and see if they're interested in taking on an intern or if they would give you an interview.
Okay, great.
Like Kristen said, the corporate and in-house type organizations, it's difficult to find internship opportunities there. But think about the things that you ultimately would be doing in that type of role, right? So a lot of in-house counsel and commercial lawyers and corporate lawyers, they're doing litigation, they're doing negotiating deals, they're doing compliance work, they're doing transactional work, they're doing labor and employment work, they're
IP, they're doing all sorts of things.
Yeah, so if you don't find something specifically at a corporation or in-house or something like that, you can maybe go to a mid-sized firm or another organization where you're still getting those same skills that you can then carry over into another position.
Okay, and my second question would be, what's the difference between a fellowship and an internship?
Fellowships typically are postgraduate, right? So after you've already finished law school, gotten your JD, you may or may not have a bar license, but it's kind of like a postgraduate internship. You can think of it that way. They're generally paid positions, usually very prestigious positions, either with a federal agency, with a federal judge. It's similar if you have a friend who's ever been in medical school, you know, somebody's been in medical school, they graduate from medical school, then they do an internship, and then they do a fellowship, and then they're on their own, right? So it's kind of postgraduate training, but they're paid positions, and they're usually very competitive positions. So they have fellowships for the White House, or the Presidential Management Fellowship. They have fellowships or honors programs with the Department of Justice, with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then like the federal clerkships, the judicial clerkships, those are all considered postgraduate positions. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. That makes sense.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. You're welcome. Okay, guys. I think we've spoken to everybody who's still on the call. We're happy to answer any other questions, but you guys know how to find us, I hope, via email or through Simplicity. So we'll be available definitely for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll take a week off. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right. Happy
Good to see
holidays, everybody.
everyone. Yes, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.